Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we're taking all of January, New Year, who dis?
New Year, who are these guys? And by these guys, I mean robots.
Robots. They're robots is who it is.
Our future overlords. We're doing a whole shout-out month.
Absolutely. It's 2023. All right.
They're coming.
The end is nigh. The robots are coming for us. So let's at least do a tribute month to our friends, the robots, or in this scenario, the combination robot and copficer in the form of a Robocop.
He is a cop who is a robot. He is a robot who is a cop.
Yes, we're talking about
a Robocop.
We are talking about Robocop.
And we have to say, the original Robocop, I forgot there was a remake from 2014.
There was a remake from 2014.
OG Robot Cop.
You're a bad rowboat, and he's going to arrest you. It is a Robot Cop. We're talking about Robocop this week. We're talking about different robots and of different forms all throughout the month. Through January, so it's going to be a fun month with some goofy robot times.
Goofy robot times. I don't know how the future robots are going to feel about what we say about them, to be totally honest. So I don't know if this was a good idea.
Fair. I think even if we goof on the movies, they won't mind because I think it'll be like they don't necessarily love their depictions in some of these movies throughout the month. You know what I mean?
Also, they might not have emotions or a sense of humor.
They also might not care.
They might just be robots.
In any way, they will not care, I think, actually will be a large portion of the robot uprising, which is not caring, particularly about podcasts.
Particularly about
This
medium in specific, they are like, fuck, we don't have ears.
I do not think they are wasting computational power combing through the archives of podcasts.
That's fair. We are hard to comb through. There's no transcripts of these babies.
Yeah.
You got to just listen to them.
I think that if they have any inclination, our future robot overlords,
as they are coming,
to go back and listen to old podcasts, then they are not winning. You know, that's not a concern. I am at no point worried about robots that listen to podcasts. That's never a concern of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think they might.
Yeah.
But I think we might change some minds. So let's be careful
when Boston
about what
Dynamics are like, here's a dog that cannot be knocked over and has a knife mounted to its head. They're never like, here's a robot that really like consumes podcasts.
That's just us.
That's just us.
That's humans.
We've got that covered.
Okay. Fair enough.
So that's
right, then we'll just talk about movies.
We'll just talk about movies. So we're going to talk about Robocop on today's podcast. But before we do, we want to thank our wonderful sponsor of today's episode. We want to thank our friends over at tpublic.com.
It's a new year, but TeePublic is still the same great place to get your next t-shirt or tank top or hoodie with a nerdy, wonderful design made by an independent artist who's getting fair commissions for their work. You're going to get a shirt you love, and the artist who made it is going to be like, yay! Someone who loves the thing I love bought the shirt I made. So great.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's a wonderful dichotomy of a business.
And what's incredible is with these unique designs that are by independent artists, it means you're getting something that's kind of like cool, indie, not necessarily your mainstream stuff, something that expresses your interests, your likes. Like one design that I am liking this week, it is called Full Metal Cop, and it is a play off the Full Metal Jacket poster, but with Robocop's helmet with the stuff written on it, which I think is a really cool play, a very recognizable helmet. Full Metal Cop, fun style, Full Metal Jacket style, but it's the top half of the Robocop helmet.
We love a mashup. My shirt is not a mashup. Mine is the Ed 209 falling down some stairs, and it says Stairs 1, Ed 209 0, and we're going to talk about that scene extensively in a bit. But if you have a shirt, if you want to have that on your shirt, TeePublic's got it. And I don't know a lot of other places you're going to get an Ed 209 falling down stairs.
If you dislike Ed 209 and or like stairs. Pro stairs, this is the shirt for you. Also just a fun, cool design. And you can get it on so many different fabrics, different cuts, different colors. Not only can you get it on a t-shirt, you can get it on like long sleeve, hoodies, tank tops. You can get stickers, phone cases, accessories. So much good stuff, and anytime that you shop through our storefront, not only do you directly support this podcast, but you also support the artist who designed that particular design as well. So shop through our storefront, have a look at those ones we just mentioned, or any of the previous ones we've mentioned on the podcast by heading on over to teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That is teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. TeePublic.com. And thank you, TeePublic, for your support.
Thank you so much, TeePublic.
And now let's get into the full episode. Let's talk more about Robocop. All right, we have seen Robocop, 1987's Robocop. I believe neither of us for the first time, or you're not sure.
I don't think I'd ever seen the full thing, to be honest. Everything after he became a robot cop felt very new. I definitely had seen him die, and I'd seen him become a robot cop. Nothing after that felt familiar. I maybe fell asleep.
Okay, so some bits and pieces on television, maybe.
Yeah. Or like turned it off and walked away. But yeah, I definitely had never had a full viewing, I don't believe.
Well, then that is very interesting. I've seen it a few times, but it's been a little while, so it was a nice refresher for me. But for your first probably proper sit down and watch, Diana, did you like it?
I did like it. I didn't love it, and I really wanted to love it since it's like a classic, and I know that you really like it. So I'm like, I was raring for a love. I'm like, I can't wait. And I quite liked it. It gets a little draggy and boring in like the last like third or whatever, but like the effects are really cool. There's some like really nice like just allegories and lessons embedded here, as Paul Verhoeven likes to do, but like they're very deeply hidden. You gotta look for them. You gotta know what you're looking for. But there's like great performances by Peter Weller in here. I'm having a good time. Like some really fun action. Fun, the right word for what happens here? Some intense action happens in this movie. So overall, I liked it. It's like a really good time. Just in terms of like motivation and energy, it starts to drag around the halfway point for me, and it doesn't really like ever really pick up again. So like I was getting a little like bored. I'm like, I've seen the Robot Cop. And then they like mixed it up by taking his helmet off. So that helped a little bit. But the effects also look really, really cool. So yeah, overall it's a pretty high like, and I'm sad it wasn't a love. But Andrew, what are your you've watched several Robot Cops.
I've watched the Robot Cops. I think this movie slaps. I'm surprised that you feel that way about the final section. I feel like this is a tight 90-ish minute movie, hour 40.
Love the length.
It's a tight movie. It's a smooth pacing. I don't think it lags. I think it just like keeps rising and then just hard stops, which is a very 80s thing to do.
The hard stop is fun. I will say I like the hard stop.
Hard stop's a lot of fun, but yeah, I think that this is quite a remarkable movie. I think that it is there are some really great performances, some fun character pieces as well. Like I do feel like every villain is kind of dialing it up to 10, but really knowing what they're doing. Like everyone in this feels like there's like 6 different versions of like almost Alan Rickman from Die Hard, of that like I am an 80s villain played to 10, but I'm a good actor who knows how to kind of play for the back row.
Yeah, but I'm like malicious, but I'm very intelligent.
Yeah. A lot of like layered pieces as well. So yeah, if I really like all of the character work. What everybody does. Obviously, the world building, the costume design, I think the execution is pretty remarkable. I just think this movie slaps all around.
I'm not going to disagree with any of those points, and I agree with all of them. I think just like, to get my negative out of the way off the top, and then I don't know if I have any more, is that, I think there's just like a lack of like tension as it goes. It's like, what am I worried about happening? My main character is already a dead robot. I'm just like, I'm not worried he's going to die. I don't really know what he's trying to do other than just arrest criminals. And I don't really care if the criminals succeed or don't succeed, who have a lot more screen time. So there's just kind of like a lack of like, what do I care about happening? But while I'm not caring about any of the characters particularly, I'm like, there's some really cool action. It looks really great. And some people are getting their comeuppance, which is nice. So I think those are my biggest problems. And like a lack of like character relationships. Like I do think it's very weird that Murphy is a transfer. I find it very weird that Lewis is not his like long-term partner. She knew him for a day when he died, which really kind of pulls me away of like, oh no, they're wonderful bond.
Right.
So I think those are my only negatives, and then the rest of them going to be like, it is fun.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now I think that there's a few things that I find So it's his first day thing. Mm-hmm. There's a few things that I actually really like about that dynamic. That it's like, it's not the I have to avenge my partner thing. It's a like, fuck, another person died this week. I'm moving on. Wait, are you a robot cop? I actually think that the rhythm of that works.
Okay, if that was the delivery of it, I would have loved it.
Right.
Wait, are you a robot cop?
And I think it also adds to not recognizing that portion of his face. And I will say Peter Weller looks different in the robot cop costume. It's not like when Bruce Wayne puts on a Batman mask and no one can recognize the lower 2/3 of his face for some reason.
It really does block off his face in a perfect way of that could be anyone's chin.
And especially like Weller has a really like pointy, triangular, young face. Mm-hmm. And it gets very square and blocky in the Robocop helmet. So it does look different. But I think only knowing him for a day also adds to the like, that's not him, is it? Like, I think it adds to that to a certain degree.
Okay.
So I kind of like the missed connection thing of them developing a bond that is undercut by a situation as well. So there's some things that I actually do kind of vibe with, and I like about that. It is their first time as a partner. And it's not, a long term. I need to avenge my partner type of a thing. So I'm kind of on board with that. I do agree with you that towards the end, that maybe there isn't the character dynamics. It does become just kind of a revenge piece of the only thing you're really rooting for is comeuppance, and the tension isn't necessarily there. It's a gang with a bunch of future guns, and then just RoboCop kind of rampaging around, and you're just hoping for the best. But there's not necessarily a ton of tension, even though it is kind of some fun action set pieces.
Yeah, that's kind of all I'm saying. Although, even on top of that, I will say things that I like as like, it's not revenge, which is actually a thing I really like about this movie. He is looking for justice quite literally. Like, he's not capable of revenge, I don't believe.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
That's kind of what I like about it. Like, he's going around looking for the guys who killed him, but he is like genuinely like, stopping a crime. These guys are criminals. You'll go to jail. And I'm like, oh, pure justice.
I know for sure about one crime, and I'm going to find the people who did it.
I have memories and footage of one very specific bad crime, and I'm allowed to arrest whoever I want for whatever crime. He's not ignoring other crimes that are happening. He's just like, I'm on track for this one.
Yeah, I'm with that. And I think that to kind of stay on your one negative before I get really positive, because I do love a lot about this movie, of the like, that final act doesn't necessarily have a lot of tension. And I think a large part because even though the scene is a tense escalation, when the character of Bob Morton, played by Miguel Ferrer, who's the guy who invents RoboCop, is this great kind of greasy executive climbing up the ladder, kiss-ass, pissant little guy that we hate but we know at the same time. Like, to kind of compare it to another 80s movie, it's like the guy who's doing coke at the Christmas party in Die Hard.
I was just about to say the guy. So guys doing coke generally.
He's I do coke energy, and he does do coke. Yeah,
he does coke with 2 prostitutes. So we're like, yeah.
I'm a cocaine sniffing executive energy, and he plays this character piece really well and works so great as like a creator and foil and a problem who's also created our hero. And then when he gets killed, that is a cool moment and definitely a like, oh shit, I got to look out for this other guy now. But now I've kind of lost the guy who connected all of the tension. Like, he was the guy who created RoboCop and was like, would be like, shut RoboCop down, fuck this guy, fix this, I need you to fix this. But was also the one at odds with his boss. And like, once he's dead, I do feel like we lose a lot of the connections. And then suddenly Clarence, the gang leader, is now like at the executive offices and wearing a suit, and it feels like we've just kind of traded for a new character, but none of the dynamics are right again for all the villainous stuff.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I feel like the movie did a disservice by having Dick Jones be the villain who like lived and ended up doing it all, because I think the other guy played by Miguel is the more interesting villain.
Yeah.
And he's like the one who's like kind of cutthroat and climbing the ladder. I feel like he probably should have killed Dick Jones and been like the head guy. Yeah. I think that would have been more interesting. And it's like, he's like, he could shut down RoboCop, but he can't shut down RoboCop. The ending that I really like still works, of like the boss has to fire you so RoboCop can kill you. That's a great ending. I'm just going to throw that out there. So yeah, it does. The dynamic changes in a very abrupt way after Miguel Ferrer is killed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. But that said, the dynamic changes. But Miguel Ferrer does a phenomenal job.
He's
of
very,
this
very
greasy
good.
guy. He's played a few of these over the years. I think that everyone in this movie has played a few variants of the archetype that they're playing, but this is kind of the peak of it for all of them. Kurtwood Smith, Red from that 70s show, who plays Clarence, the gang leader, does a phenomenal job of this terrible human being, of this kind of like real chaotic Joker-esque energy. I think that he really owns that character, as does everyone in their support roles.
Kurtwood Smith is so good. I don't know who thought his character should be named Clarence. Not the coolest name.
No.
And like no nickname. He's just like, I go by Clarence.
I'm a Clarence.
Look at me.
Yes.
I've shot you 18 times in the dick, and my name's Clarence. As happens.
I've committed all conceivable crimes. I'm Clarence.
No nickname attributed to me in any way that I prefer.
No.
My mom named me Clarence, and to honor her, I still go by Clarence.
That's a chaotic energy in itself.
In and of itself, having no shame about your nerdy name when you're the baddest motherfucker on the planet is a power in and of itself.
I think that's a power
I'm
move.
just joking around. But yes, he's so good. Kind of in a role like he's always an asshole, but this is like such another level of like torturous, maniacal, yes, as you said, Joker-esque. Like, I love to kill, but I also kind of like the organization of crime.
Yeah, I like being in power, really, no matter what it is, whether that is financial, whether that is social, whether that is physical violence. It's just someone who likes being in a position of power in some regard. Yeah.
So we're doing positives now, and we have to go to the very beginning.
Okay.
To the title card.
Sure. It just pops off.
Wow. What a start to a movie.
Here's an image of Detroit. Robocop.
Here's the word Robocop.
Movies don't start like that anymore.
Movies
just don't start like that anymore.
No names, no music. It might as well be like the production company name it comes in. So it's like 20th Century Fox Robocop. It's right after each other. You're here to see the robot cop. You're not in the wrong theater. It's here.
This is the robot cop.
He will be here any minute.
And I love it. I love it. I know that I've mentioned on this podcast before that I enjoy a call and response title, but I also like just being like, welcome to the movie. Title! I like that energy as well. Like, you did not enter the wrong theater. Title! That is so just unpretentious fun.
And just like shooting in, because like most titles are like, they get revealed or like they're just kind of there. And it just kind of like, boom, comes at you like a bullet.
Yeah.
And that's Robocop.
That is Robocop.
And also, I love that this movie is called Robocop because I'm pretty sure they don't say Robocop once. They just call him like a product, or they call him Murphy, or they call him a cop. They don't say Robocop.
I think someone calls him Robo at one point.
They do call him Robo.
Yeah.
Implying that cop is just his like work title. Like you could be a Robo doctor, you could be a Robo lawyer, and he is just a Robo cop. But yeah, they don't. I feel like because at the end. They're like, who are you? And he says his name's Murphy. So I feel like RoboCop 2 should have been called Murphy.
That would be terrible branding.
It's me, Murphy.
Truly terrible branding.
Hey, I think I have some ideas. And there's a reason I don't work for movie executives.
For movie marketing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I like the start of this movie. I really like... there's so much to like about this movie. I really like that Paul Verhoeven, one thing that he has done well with this movie, and I think with some of his other cult hits as well, Starship Troopers being one of them, and I'm trying to remember, there's another pulpy one similar to this, but either way, is that at the time, this didn't necessarily go off particularly well. The critical response wasn't that good. It wasn't as big of a hit as it could have been. It was enough to inspire sequels, but it wasn't huge. But I think this does so much better today. And I think the same is true of Starship Troopers and a few of these other pieces where I was reading this article that was analyzing political commentary and satire. And it was talking about how political commentary actually often works better with time when it has no subtlety at all. And Paul Verhoeven does a good job of no subtlety. No subtlety at all. And when you are living in the moment, you're like, why isn't there subtlety? But if you go back to watch it 30, 40 years later, it works so well because you don't need to have been watching the news that week.
You don't have to know what the world was like in 1987 in particular to understand what this movie's saying.
Exactly. So I think that works really well. Just to be like, corporations are bad, commercials are corporate propaganda, unions are good, striking is the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. And just like, here it is, boom, right over the place. Oh, Total Recall was the other one I was trying to think of a moment ago. Another one, corporations are bad, corporations are bad, don't trust them. We have Starship Troopers, where it's just like, you think you were recruited to the military, you're actually indoctrinated to a cult, the military is just propaganda. We've removed all subtext from what the original script was, and here it is. And at the time that it's released, the critical response is often, why does this lack subtext? Mm-hmm. And the more time that passes, the more it being obvious is actually its selling point.
Yeah, I can get that. And I think what I like about this one especially is it's not just corporations are bad. I think this movie especially is saying you should not corporificate? You shouldn't
privatize.
You shouldn't privatize public services.
Yes.
Especially. This is about not privatizing, especially public services, which I think is a way more important lesson than just like McDonald's is bad or whatever other corporation stuff you're going to say. When like corporations in general, like big ones are bad, but like you shouldn't have private hospitals that the rich can go to and the poor can't. You shouldn't have cops for the rich and no cops for the poor. So like, yeah, the corporification of public services, especially in this one, I'm like, that is a great message. Yeah. That is actually maybe a little bit subtle, but also very clearly there.
Very clearly there, and I think the only thing that's subtle about it is how many different angles they hit it from. Like, one thing that I really like is, like, OCP, at one point, one of the executives is like, we've made so much money from things that were not considered traditionally profitable by privatizing public sectors, where it's like, we've built our company off of privatizing and creating profit-driven prisons, hospitals, the police,
NASA,
space, and some of the like fake commercials, which we can talk more about in a minute, but the fake interstitials, which kind of paint the picture of the world that they're in, are the horrifying privatization of what they've done. Of like, come buy a new athlete's heart from this. It is all like, it is ads for how the corporification and privatization of public services has ruined everything in society in this world. And I find that really fascinating as well, that like it has this hand that affects everything. And also these subtle little hand pushes, like when you mentioned that, like, why is it Murphy's first day? There was one line one of the executives say when they're like, we're prepping the Robocop program or whatever they call it in that particular scene. They're like, we're prepping this program. We found the most educated and successful 40 potential candidates and moved them to the highest risk possible stations.
Oh, I didn't hear that line. I thought they just were waiting for like anyone to die.
No. So what they did was they took all of the highest qualified candidates and moved them to the highest casualty rate precincts. Which is why when Murphy even shows up, the captain's like, OCP has been moving a bunch of people around and we don't know why. It is because they've been moving the highest educated, top performing, highest paid, best possible candidates to the highest lethality stations. And I think that's a very clever thing too, to be like, the pieces are moving before you even really know why. To be like, the second something's been privatized and you're like, should we? You're already ruined. Everything is already ruined the second it's been privatized.
It's too late to come back for it. And also it removes repercussions, because like the terrifying thing about all the news stories is like, everything's going wrong, and everything going wrong is from privatized things now, because like it's on the space station, it loses gravity and the president almost dies, and then the space station also shoots like 8 cities and hundreds of people die, and there's no talk of like, well, someone will go to jail. They're just like, what a tragedy, but nothing will happen. There is no talk of who is responsible or what will happen afterwards. It is just like, oh shit, more bad stuff. No repercussions.
A bunch more bad, to quote, I think you should leave. Oh no, a bunch more bad stuff just happened.
Yeah, every news broadcast is just that. A bunch more bad stuff just happened.
And I love the news broadcasts and these fake commercials and TV shows for that reason. To be like, it paints this kind of anti-commercial aspect, which is the tone of the whole movie. which is anti-consumerism, anti-corporatization, anti-privatization. And it also paints this picture of like a broader world with a bunch more bigger, badder shit happening that no one gives a fuck about. It also paints this picture of a highly desensitized world, and a world where I think without these interstitials and pictures, it would be like, why isn't America stopping to look at what's happening in Detroit? But instead, it's the news, and it's just being like, we're setting off a nuclear weapon in Mexico next week. Anyway, new cars on sale today, and it's like a nuke going off and a Mexican war is not enough to even make more than a 3-minute segment on the news.
Yeah, there's like a continental war happening in Africa, like across the whole continent. And it's just 3 seconds on the news everywhere, which is, I like that the movie paints that picture of the whole world as bad. I do think, like, culturally, this movie, the lesson taken away was that Detroit was a piece of shit, though. I don't feel like people really, like, stepped away and were like, yes, the whole world will be bad. It really was. We all walked away and were like, Detroit's fucked. Oh shit! Detroit needs a Robocop
Detroit's
now.
ruined. Yeah, it's
and like
it's definitely not a favorable portrayal of Detroit.
And it was a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, perhaps.
Yes, but definitely, I can't imagine it's people in Detroit's favorite movie.
No, or maybe it is. It's a famous movie set where they live.
Yeah.
Where the criminals do get their comeuppance.
Mm-hmm.
They're comeupped.
There is comeuppance, and it is not about Detroit is bad, but corporations are bad that try to take advantage of impoverished cities that are in a tough situation.
Mm-hmm. That is bad.
Yeah. The lack of subtlety works. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention, just for like the lack of subtlety kind of holding up over time, is that I think the more politically relevant to the era this was made that it tried to be, the less that it would work with time. There's this really great clip from 30 Rock that I think of fairly frequently whenever I watch like something old that tries to be political and it tries to be subtle. It's this clip from 30 Rock where it's the episode where Liz Lemon meets Carrie Fisher's character, who is like an old late night writer. And Carrie Fisher's character is talking about some of the old, it was like a laugh-in type show, sketches that she used to write. And it does like the smash cut to this clip from a 70s sketch show or an 80s sketch show. And it's like Nixon is just standing on a street and a mailbox falls over and he goes, "Oh no." And there's a huge laugh. And it cuts back to like Tina Fey as Liz Lemon being like, "I don't get it at all." And Carrie Fisher's like, "The mailbox was Haldeman." And like, and I'm like, that is what I think of when I'm like, oh, yeah. Subtlety actually does not work several years later in respect unless you are a historian who has memorized all of the events around that exact time period. And the least subtle you can make something, the broader it will work long term as well.
That's why most political satire is literally called The Daily Show, because it's only relevant for a day.
Yes.
You will not be able to understand this joke a week from now when so much has happened that you've forgotten all the things.
Yeah.
So that's a great sketch to respond to, and that is an absolute real point. Yeah, you have to do such broad strokes to make a political idea relevant even months afterwards and still be like have any kind of impact.
Yeah. And then some straightforward things that slap about this movie. Costume design.
Holy crap, the Robocop costume rules.
It fucking rules. It's iconic.
It slaps. Like, he looks dangerous and badass, but, like, I believe that it's a human man who's been turned into a robot. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not cheesy in any way.
And feels functional and lived in, and, like, the battle damage looks good as it gets scuffed up. Everything about it is immaculate costume design.
I think it is incredible. I think I will say a good chunk of it is Peter Weller's, like, mime roboting. He is
terrific.
He moves in an incredible way. Like according to the trivia, like he had a mime coach. Like he didn't just like decide like I'm doing a robot. Especially the way he'll just move like his hips, which is like most people only focus on arms when they're a robot or legs, but he like turns his whole body in a very interesting way, and it makes that outfit look cool. The gun coming out of the leg.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I like that like. It feels like sometimes
just the big gun, like the modified gun alone, like the design of the gun itself is incredible. It looks gigantic, like, and some of the cinematography of that movie, that shot of like all of the guns on the firing range and just one gun that looks fucked.
One big gun that's like shooting like an automatic weapon.
Yeah, and that is a really good, just like simple scene to be like, we've made a costume design choice where he has a big, ridiculous gun. How do we juxtapose that? And the angle just right of looking down the range and everyone kind of turning their head to be like, what is going on? But yeah, the gun going into the leg, every bit of costume design. And I think it's so iconic and rare to be like, this is a character from the 80s that still continues today in reboots, which had mixed to poor success where they did redesign the costume, but still exists in comic books and media and properties.
And even just memory. Like if you say Robocop, everyone knows.
It is wild that this is not a hugely prevalent. It exists today, but it's not a hugely prevalent current series. And I think it's one of the most recognizable, iconic characters because that's the costume design. Like when you draw a comic book for Robocop, that's what Robocop in the year 2023. That's what every single year. That's what Robocop looks like. It's a perfect design.
Yeah, it's simple, but also just like simply beautiful, but it's also not all that simple. It's incredibly well balanced.
Yeah.
And there's like so much more going on. Like little hints that I like are like, it seems like he should have weapons built in. You would think would be the automatic thing. But I like that I feel like they learned a lesson by the big robot. What's his name? Ted or Ed?
Yeah.
Having his weapons built in. They're like, no built-in weapons. We'll just give him a gun. Mm-hmm. He can carry guns. That's going to be just fine. I really love that about it. But then he also, like, the prosthetic work when he takes the helmet off.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Like, I actually was... I mean, this is embarrassing to say I forgot prosthetic work existed for a minute. Because when he took the helmet off, I was like, how did they do this with CG in 1987? Because, like... The big robot was so clearly like stop motion CG. And then I was like, oh no, these are prosthetics. They look incredible.
Yeah. The
head prosthetic isn't as flawless.
Making his head thicker than it is by kind of like pulling it over the metal as opposed to trying to like fight prosthetic work, which is something that's so tough when You'll see with a lot of creature design and be like, how do you have like a decapitated limb on a zombie, or like how do you create negative space with prosthetics is one of the most challenging things.
Because you have to build out to make a hollow.
Exactly. But this was just like, what if we only built out and pulled the skin out and over the mechanical parts?
Because he's had all these surgeries, so why not?
Shit, it looks good.
It looks good, and it's broad daylight. It's so highly lit that you should be able to see every flaw, but it's flawless. Like it looks real, and I couldn't believe when it wasn't just for like that one quick scene in the warehouse. I'm like, he's doing fight scenes with these prosthetics on his face.
Yeah.
Like long ones. He's got wreckage on top of him, and he's trying to get up, and I was blown away by the prosthetic work.
Absolutely beautiful work. Iconic design, incredible top to bottom. I think the other thing too that I really like about this movie, which I think is kind of a product of its era as well. While we're talking about like prosthetic work, practical effects, ED-209 being stop motion captured, overlaid over other footage, which if you look up how they did that, it is mind-boggling to just be like, you did that for a few scenes in a popcorn movie. That is high art, how you combine footage like that. But the other thing that I find so fascinating is that even the failures add to the art of it, and it's something that I miss about practical effects. Because you hear a lot of conversations now about like practical versus CGI, and like, oh, we got to bring back practical, and CGI sucks. And it's like, they each have their strength. I do think CGI is undervalued at times, but also they're underpaid and overworked, which is part of the problem with it right now. But what practical always did right was that when there were problems, it happened early in production, and then the production catered to the problem earlier in the process, which allowed you to turn it into wins. You know, it's your Jaws shark not working, and now it's the thing that you don't see. So, like, in this costume, Peter Weller couldn't stand up and sit down, so he couldn't get in and out of the car. So they're like, what do we do? Now we need to shoot him. It's Peter Weller in boxer briefs with only the top half of the costume on when he's in the car.
I love that it very specifically said boxer briefs. Like, he couldn't put pants on?
I think
why were you
for the quick change. For the quick change. And also he was overheating as well, apparently.
I did read he was overheating, so maybe he was like, please just boxers.
But then it also adds to that Western hero shot of the boot hitting the ground. So they're like, okay, well, we can't get a full body shot of him getting out of a car. What do? Well, we get his head as he pulls up. Then as soon as the car stops, we get a close-up of then it's him in the car not wearing the top half of the costume, but the boot hits the ground. But those little creative design choices, when a problem happens early in production, means that it's like, okay, now we're going to have a Western-style boot-level shot of the boot hitting the ground. And it also then allows that heavy thud, which the sound design of this movie is incredible. That heavy thud, a moment of silence, then when they go into the wide and he's in the full costume again, hit him with the Robocop theme, which is a powerful theme. But it's just one of those simple things where, like, a simple problem of you can't wear the top and bottom at the same time while getting in or out of a car. How do we work with that? By that being an early production problem means that a whole creative and stylistic choice that I think adds a lot happened around it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense because I feel like a CG Robocop, like today's Robocop, would be, someone in a mocap suit sitting in a car. And then when you got to put the suit on him, like with CG, you'd be like, oh, he's too low in the car. Or like he wouldn't actually fit in this car if it was Robocop based on the designs we gave him. Mm-hmm. And then you just have either a too small or too big Robocop in this car.
Yeah.
And that would be like, and it would look weird and silly. You'd probably have to CG the whole car and not use any of the footage. And it would cost more money than if you had just put a guy in a suit and had him drive a car.
Yeah.
But like they had to figure it out because he's physically wearing a suit.
Or if that problem occurs with a CGI version, it occurs 1 to 2 months before the movie's scheduled to release
and
as
like,
well.
The actor's gone doing other things. You can't do reshoots.
And you don't have time. You don't have budget. You don't have any ability to fix it creatively. So it's either like the visual effects department either makes it work or doesn't, and it goes to theater either way. Whereas in this scenario, they had a problem, and you have time to fix it, come up with a whole thing. Yeah.
Now, another thing this movie does, that's great and a great point, but another thing this movie does that is on purpose that I absolutely love about Robocop is the slow reveal of what he looks like.
Holy shit, that beginning is so good.
There has never been a slower, better reveal. I can't think of the specific movies, but there's been a few movies where I've been like, and then they just showed what he looked like, and there was like no tease or no build up to like what the superhero costume looked like, or like there was no big reveal. This is a perfect superhero reveal of like he's waking up, you just get footage from his point of view for the longest time.
The POV shots all work so well as well.
The POV shots make total sense. You get such a feel of what's happening to him. The first shot of him just on a computer monitor while he walks by because the camera cut a little bit of his face. Oh, chef's kiss. Oh, so wonderful. Such a great little, like, here's just a little bit of what he looks like. And then you can catch, like, a glimpse of his back as he goes into the police station. Then you catch another glimpse when he's on the firing range. And then finally you get full Robocop eventually. And it's so rewarding. It feels so satisfying to be like, thank you for these little teases and not just being like, here's a Robocop.
Yeah.
Like, the reveal is the absolute antithesis of the title card.
Yeah.
The title card was Robocop. And the reveal was, here's a little bit of Robocop. And here's a little bit more Robocop. And when you get a full Robocop, you're not gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe when you get full Robocop.
And even just having all of the cops freak out and be like, I want to get a look at Robocop. I want to get a look at Robocop.
It made me want to get a look at Robocop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Portraying that voice of the audience throughout really sells. Really sells. Yeah. And I think, too, like, adding to every single choice around what is a robot cop was done right. You ask yourself, you're making a movie called Robot Cop, and you're like, we need to really lock down what a robot cop is, does, looks like, sounds like, acts like. It's Weller's mime classes. It's the incredible costume design. It's the slow reveal of the character. The goddamn sound design. Like, I would say that, like, it's subtly iconic. To this day, it's like, I think that the Robocop sounds are like, I don't know how it's been passed from generation to generation, are like the default robot sound that a kid pretending to be a robot makes.
Yeah, even if you haven't seen Robocop.
Somehow it has penetrated our DNA as a species to do that, like, boof, boof. Like that is the sound
of any robot.
And I think that this is the movie that solidified that, because like Terminator didn't use that soundscape.
No, because it was like he was too smooth.
It was too smooth. It was clangier as well. Like it still had a heavy thud at times, But RoboCop really solidified what a robot sounds like as well. Yeah, the movement, the costume, the sound design.
RoboCop has like weight to him. RoboCop, like you believe RoboCop will fuck you up because he sounds so heavy.
Yeah.
That's not just a man in an aluminum suit. You're like, that's a robot. Did you hear how heavy he is?
And it's wild to have like a character design as well that like it's 2023 right now. That this would work today, like with the progression of technology, to have a technological based character design from 1987 work as well then as it does today is kind of weird. Like I could see RoboCop going this exact version, the practical physical costume RoboCop, going toe-to-toe with Iron Man in a Marvel movie, and neither one of them would seem out of place against one another, and it would be a viable competition. That really says a lot about a immortal design of an aesthetic of a character.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think he would have to be a little bit faster than he currently is. But other than that, just design-wise and toughness-wise, I'd be like, yeah, he could take some hits from Iron Man, no problem. Unless Tony was like going to aim for his clear human face. But other than that, he's really tough. But I will say he also does a really good job at RoboCop. Every time he gets shot at, he puts one of his arms in front of his human face.
When things get real hairy, yeah.
He's like, oh no, my human fleshy face. And he always protects it. So it's like, even if some guy is like, one of the criminals is like, I'll shoot him in his fleshy face. He's like, no, you won't. You will not protect my fleshy face.
No, thank you. And even if he got one in the fleshy face, I feel like it would mess up the look of the fleshy face, but I still feel like he's going to keep functioning.
I think he will too, because like his brain is protected.
Yeah.
His cheek would hurt. Like he would like lose some teeth maybe, but like unless it's going to like go through the neck and like sever his spinal cord, which I'm not sure if he needs anymore. Yeah. Like he might have a metal spinal cord. I think they really just needed the brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mostly to be like, we need human thoughts and a human sense of justice because robots aren't good at that.
They took off his arm for something to do.
Yeah, he was like, no humanity but the brain.
Yeah.
Arm's no good. He's going to have to put that in front of his face to stop the bullets.
Also, I'm going to say iconic theme song, too. Just that, like, dun, 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 dun. Super recognizable. I think it's great. I know that you're not the biggest for recognizing music, but...
I couldn't tell it to you, even though you just did it.
Okay.
I will say the other music, though, was freaking me out because it sounded just like Lord of the Rings music.
Yeah, apparently you mentioned there's one track?
There's one track, and it played like... It wasn't the RoboCop theme, but just this, like, soft track that kept playing whenever, like, things would get resolved. And I kept being like, Rivendell? What the fuck? Are we in Rivendell? It kind of took me out a few times. Oh, elves.
Elves. Just a little bit of elvish.
Just a little bit of elven vibes in
RoboCop. I didn't catch the elven vibes, but I think
that
the theme song is iconic.
I mean, it got an Oscar nomination for sound design.
So they're doing a lot of things right
for
here.
RoboCop to get an Oscar nomination for a movie called RoboCop, and the Academy to be like, oh yeah.
Yay.
That's it.
And for a CGI era movie, for a popcorn movie to get an Oscar nomination, because nowadays it's like you see a Marvel movie get nominated for an Oscar and you're like, okay, I guarantee you it's going to be visual effects. It's going to be visual effects.
Maybe costumes?
Maybe costumes.
If it's a Black Panther.
Yes.
A Black Panther will get a costume nod every time.
You'll get a costume or a CG or a visual effects category, and that's it. But yeah, a sound design I think is a pretty powerful Oscar nomination for a movie like this to get.
I will say, all right, so another thing that I like about this movie, because now we're only on positives, obviously. The violence is so extreme, and it might be the only time I've seen a hero be super violent, and I'm okay with it. Not in the way that he's just, like, killing fools, because obviously, but, like when he, like, saves, I think he has 2 gas station fights. At both gas station fights, he makes a huge mess, destroys the gas station, blows it up to stop these, like, criminals, who, in any other movie, I'd be like, those guys are just robbing a gas station. You probably shouldn't destroy the gas station. But we've so clearly defined a world of literally every criminal is going to murder the person they're doing a crime against that every time I'm like, yes, destroy the gas station. He's going to murder this old couple. They are definitely going to die. So you can destroy all the beer, ruin the cabinets. You absolutely just saved their lives because they've really established this world of like ruthless criminals. And I think that makes a big difference of like, it's not like when I watch Man of Steel and I'm like, stop destroying Metropolis. Oh my God, no. It is very like justified.
And they've also established a world where this is a cop that works for a company that is bulldozing this city.
Oh shit! Yeah, good point.
So that he has no directive about collateral damage or property damage.
No, they're taking that grocery store down next week anyway, probably.
All OCP wants is dangerous criminals murdered in the streets, and then they can plow the whole city and turn it into a profit-based condominium. That's their entire profit model. So they don't care if he blows up a gas station. They'd want him to blow up more. So I think that there's that part of it as well, where it's just like, yeah, we don't care about collateral damage because fuck this city is the company's attitude.
Yeah, I actually feel like they didn't give him any directives other than the 3 they gave him and then the secret 4th one. So I think everything else is just kind of Murphy's like vibes.
Maybe it's Murphy's vibes.
I think they're just Murphy's vibes.
You know what? It is pretty unspoken. It might just be a general vibes scenario on that. Also, in the gas station one, he got fucked up with a memory mid-thing. So that kind of messed with the whole...
Yeah. The memories were cool.
Yeah.
I liked the way they did this, like, walk through the house, you get memories. It's so weird to only have characters exist in a memory. I will say that is strange.
I really like that.
It works, though.
And I feel like that's another bold thing that like a movie today wouldn't do anymore, which is original flashbacks to something that the movie didn't show you in the first act. To be like, we're flashing back to something. You, as an audience, have the intelligence to know that this is his wife and child. We did not need to start the movie with, hello, wife and child, and then have these scenes for you to flash back to them later. I think that that's a very confident, time-efficient, and good efficiency of storytelling, and it shows a lot of confidence in the audience, which I think that a lot of movies now do not have. That to flashback, you have to have seen the scene first.
I think it showed confidence, and it really put you in Robocop's shoes, though, because like we as an audience don't remember this wife and kids because we've never met them. So like Robocop wakes up and he doesn't remember his wife and kids, and we don't know who the wife and kid are. So as he's experiencing memories of his life, so are we. We're like, oh, that's what your wife looked like? That's your kid? We had no idea. I was picturing a younger child when he was like, my kid likes TJ Laser, and I was not picturing a kid this old. So his memories were just as new to me as they were to him.
That's a very interesting POV perspective. I didn't even really think about it from that, but you're 100% right.
And yeah, so that was really cool.
And also, just from an editing perspective, like the match cuts and how they matched it up one another. Yeah. Well, you mentioned that was another Oscar nomination this movie got was for editing. And it is so well edited. It is so well edited, especially the way those scenes match up with the flashback.
Yeah, the scenes match up. Also, just another like thing that just feels like very spot on futuristic. I will say not many things in this feel like spot on futuristic, but having a robot like man kind of walk you through a house showing.
The real estate agent. Yeah.
Feels like we're like 2 years away from that. Maybe they might even have it now for
I think they
houses.
For sure have it now.
I mean, you can do like virtual ones online, but like to show up at a house and just have a robot be like, this bathroom has an ensuite. Or bathrooms are ensuites, but he'd be better.
No. This bathroom has a smaller bathroom.
Oh, for your children.
Yeah.
A children's bathroom in your bathroom.
Yeah, for your children or your Ratatouille or whatever small character you might have.
Your dog or your cat.
That
Actually,
needs to use the bathroom while you're in the bathroom. That's a bathroom ensuite.
You know what?
If you put a kitty litter inside of a bathroom, now that's an ensuite in the bathroom.
Okay, nailed it. We figured out what an ensuite in a bathroom is. It's for your cat.
It's for the cat.
And it works.
Yeah, but yeah, that did feel very soft futuristic.
Yeah, and this is a weird future where it's like dystopian, but it's not because corporations are still developing technology. But it's a weird, it's like a very believable mix. I'm like, yeah, that's what the world feels like right now. Yeah. We got the fucking Tesla cars, and we got people destroying cities, and
even the 6000 SUX, the 6000 sucks, the main car.
Oh, it spells sucks. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
It's the 6000 sucks.
That's good.
Which is the most popular car in this world, or like the hot new release. Looks oddly close to a Cybertruck. Oddly close.
Like, was it based on like did the Cybertruck look at this?
Yeah, right. Like I almost feel like that is the beauty of the dystopian world that they've created here, and why it like feels eerily close at times, where I feel like the aesthetic and a lot of the design choice for the world and the advertising and the things like that were really not so much about like what will the future be like. It was just a question of what crap would rich people try to sell poor people in the future? And I feel like that is the primary design question around this entire future aesthetic, which is if as income disparity gets larger, what is it rich people are trying to sell, and how are they trying to sell it?
Real Demolition Man vibes.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
corporations taking over. Yeah, Demolition Man didn't have a lot to say. They were just like, the corporations are big.
Yeah, and that was it.
Whereas this is corporations are big and they're bad.
Yes. Yeah.
They're big and bad.
Yeah. So I really like that as a design choice, or like the motivating question that creates everything around it.
And in terms of just like, there's only a few like great comedic moments in this, but when that hostage taker and the negotiator are talking about what car to get him was so good.
Can I get cruise control?
Yeah, you can get cruise control. Of course it has cruise control. Just screaming like 2 floors up at this guy with a gun.
Based on a real situation as well.
Oh no!
So that was.
This is an actual political thing that didn't age then.
This is the post box was Haldeman type of 30 Rock thing, where like there was like a mayor who lost a race or something and then took the whole place hostage.
Oh.
And later his defense was that it was his blood sugar level was too low. So he took everyone hostage, which is why that guy is eating a candy bar the whole time. It was this famous thing called like the Twinkie defense, where it was a guy trying to eat a Twinkie during a hostage situation or whatever. Yeah. So I think that is one where it's like, it's a commentary on a thing that was in the news this week.
Okay.
But also it's like, we made it so absurdly over the top.
It lasted. I still loved it. I still thought it was real good. And I didn't know about Twinkie defense.
Yeah. No.
Another very quick moment that was so funny, and I have nothing to say beyond this was such a funny moment, is when that guy loses his gun in the club and another guy dancing just catches it and keeps dancing.
Like, hey!
A gun! Doesn't break stride with his girlfriend, but now he has a gun.
I adore that moment.
That moment is so good, and also subtly builds the world up of like, no one in this club is thrown off by a gun, and you can just keep dancing. Like, a gun falls into your hands and you're just like, I'm so desensitized to this that I'm like, party time, got a gun. Do.
I will say though, it is not just a Robocop thing. I feel like every movie made in the 80s, if you went to a nightclub, nothing can humanly stop people from dancing. And I'm going to say it's a large part due to the prevalence of cocaine. Yeah, it's a large part due to cocaine. But every movie with a dance club scene in the 80s, no one gives one shit what is happening. They only have one goal in their entire life, and it is to dance.
This is quite true. I will say I think the club Sarah Connor's at clears out when the Terminator shows up.
That one does, I think.
I think that one does. But
it doesn't clear out until people are murdered. The Terminator walks through throws the bouncer, is open carrying an Uzi, and everyone's like, I still have to dance.
Oh, look at this buff guy with an Uzi.
Ooh, what's up, big? I think someone does hit on him while he's holding a gun.
Someone does hit on him while he's holding the gun, now that you say it. But also my brain immediately went to the nightclub from Blade.
Yeah.
And they pour blood down and they don't stop dancing.
Ooh.
But why would the vampires ever stop dancing?
Yeah, there's no reason to ever stop dancing if you're a vampire. But yeah, the 80s did love a good dance club scene.
Now, we didn't talk about it, and I have to. What's up with this robot not being able to go downstairs? What is this trying to say? I honestly don't know what we are trying to say about the fact that this robot can't go downstairs. We've already proven the robot's super incompetent. It killed a guy right off the top.
Yes.
So, what's with this?
I think you're really overanalyzing the situation.
Paul Verhoeven is like, there's themes everywhere. It's a fun action movie with themes. And I don't know what I'm supposed to take away from this robot can't walk downstairs.
I think the theme is, and I think the executive says it very clearly when he's like yelling, when he's yelling with Bob in the washroom, when the executive is like, I had everything lined up for sale. It doesn't have to fucking work. We just have to sell it. So I think the commentary is just the corporification of selling absolute trash, in particular to the military and the police, getting a fat government contract. And then when he was like, I also have the replacement parts and the repair factories lined up for long-term sales. So it's about purposefully selling something that sucks as well in order to then sell the repair service.
I get what you're saying, and that makes sense. But from like a character motivation point, he also has these things as his personal bodyguards, though.
I see
and
what
if
you're
he
saying.
knows they suck, and like even like the first time it comes out, and then at the very end he's got it guarding the building. So we've proved that they're incompetent and they don't work. So I just don't feel like he would have them as his own bodyguards if they were this incompetent.
Yeah, I mean, it worked fairly well.
You know what? It got the robot cop.
It fucked up the robot cop. It got him off that floor. And then I think for the rest of the building, they have traditional security, human security, who are not prepared to deal with robot cops.
This is true.
Yeah. And then also at the end of the movie, he doesn't even need Ed 209 because he's just bought the police and uses just SWAT teams to attack Robocop as well.
He's got a lot of fingers in the pot. But yeah, that just sung as untrue for me.
All right.
I feel like he would secretly have like a really good TED 09. A TED 10. The TED 10 works really well. Ed? Not Ted?
No, it'll be Ted now. Fuck it.
He's got an Ed 10, and he's like, oh, Ed 10 works great.
Right.
Ed 9? Not great.
No. I see what you're saying. Yeah, he should have a secret better one.
Yeah.
A secret better one is not a bad idea.
Because sometimes he seems like a really smart villain, and sometimes he doesn't. Like, it's really badass that he gave Clarence a DVD to play as he killed his opponent.
Yeah.
Also, like, must be weird just filming that. like a Gul Dukat kind of Bajoran workers.
Bajoran workers. It's such a log thing. Now, to go back to the stairs, though, I do want to say, also feels oddly real. You know what I mean? Because when you see those videos of like, here's what we're training robots to do, it is so wild how difficult it is for them to train robots to take stairs. It is so wild. Like, to this day, like, we have robots that can do most of what all of the robots in Robocop can do, and stairs is still one of the top 5 most difficult things.
That's a fair point. I feel like even Star Wars hasn't figured it out. Like, they could never get BB-8 downstairs. They had to pick him up whenever they needed to, like, get him to a lower level.
Yeah.
Even in the newest movies. Like, there's, like, I remember a shot where, like, Finn has to just, like, carry him down a thing because he can't drop that far or he'll hurt himself.
Yeah.
I remember in Doctor Who also, that's the reason the Daleks can fly.
Because they can't get those fuckers up and downstairs.
They couldn't get them up and downstairs. They're like, how would we ever do this? They have to be able to fly now.
Yeah. And I think that, like, I remember reading a thing that was like one of the most complex calculations that the human brain constantly makes is standing. That, like, more than, like, advanced mathematics or anything else, like, the sheer processing power required to maintain balance and exist against gravity at all times is just one of the most difficult things to program to do. And, you know, just the constant alterations that we make every second of every day to not fall over.
Oh, shit. You know what, guys? Everyone's standing up right now. Good on ya.
We're doing great.
Way to go.
We're smarter than robots in many ways.
We're better than robots. I'm also really proud of dogs for just going downstairs head first. And
that is also a
way
bold
better
move.
than robots.
Way better than robots. That's why they needed a human brain for the robot cop, which is to get up. We can handle stairs.
Honestly, stairs might have been the peak.
Stairs might have been a big one.
Yeah, because you could just take the guns away from Ed.
Yeah.
But he still wouldn't have been able to go downstairs.
Still wouldn't have been able to get up and downstairs. Yeah. So I think that oddly real. Oddly real.
I mean, like, it looked even real. Even though it was, like, the only CG thing in the movie, it really did look real. Like, I don't know how to get down these stairs.
Yeah, like, the way the little talon
and it, like, tried
movements
first. And it gave it a little, like, pressure check of, like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
They're trying to calculate it.
Giving it animal sounds as well is like a fun sound design, going back to like Oscar-nominated sound design. Yeah, using like a tiger roar as its machine sound and then like a pig's squeal mixed with mechanical noises for when it falls over was very, very interesting and cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I laughed, but I was also like, what are the themes, Paul?
Paul, you yelling, what are the themes, Paul, delights me.
Of all the movies that people think don't have themes, I'm like, Paul's got themes, guys.
What are the themes, Paul?
I need a director's commentary. Oh, actually, is there a director's commentary of RoboCop?
I have no idea.
I'm going to find out and see if Paul tells me the fucking themes.
Track it down. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we discussed, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, let's remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment.
Every week.
We're tired of saying it. You're tired of hearing it. We're going to keep saying it, though.
We will not stop. We are the Robocop of asking for reviews.
That's what I was about to ask. We hadn't even said what it was that was going on here. But please subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you might be getting your podcasts. It helps us move up the charts. It helps us find new listeners. I know it seems like a simple thing, but every podcast asks for it. There's a reason. It's important to our growth. And it's when new people do find our podcast, they check those reviews. And if there are recent positive reviews, people are way more likely to give a new podcast a chance and then start listening to us and become regulars. So please do it. It's a free way to support the podcast.
We would love it so much to have a couple of reviews that said 2023, now that we got a different year date on those babies.
Oh, yeah.
We need new calendar year, new reviews. Who dis? We'd appreciate it so much.
I almost forgot that the calendar rolled over, and so now we need those fresh reviews now.
We need the freshest ones.
That's right. And as well, if you want to support the podcast monetarily, you can check us out over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe to us at whatever level you can afford, and you'll get cool bonuses depending on the level that you sign up for. At the $10 level, you get an exclusive bonus episode of this podcast every single month. So it is the hero level, and also when you sign up at that level, you get immediate access to the back catalog. Every month, though, new episode goes up just for our hero level patrons. This month, we're going to do an episode on Robocop 2.
We're going to do Robocop 2. I will try to track down some audio commentary of 1 and report back on the themes.
Get back to us.
I'm going to get back to you.
Get back to us.
I'll check me out on Patreon. I'll let you know.
So we will have a new episode up shortly on Robocop 2, so keep an eye out for that if you're a hero level patron, or become one, or head on over and check it out. And the other cool thing about Patreon is that you're not locked in. You can always, if your budget changes, you can cancel, you can go up, you can go down, you can change whatever your level is on any given month. And that also means that if you just have it in the budget for a month, come on over, hang out for a month, listen to Robocop 2, listen to a few of the other back catalog, and then dip out if it's not in your budget and dip back in when it is. We have plenty of patrons who do that, who will pop in and out from time to time, and we love and welcome that. We think it's fucking cool and badass that people are coming in according to their own budget. Live your life.
They mosey on in and out. They're like, yeah, I'm going to help. I'm going to enjoy, and then it's like when you go to the mall. You're going to spend a couple dollars, leave, come back later.
You don't live at the mall.
You don't live at the mall. You can come and go from the mall. Patreon's a mall.
Patreon's a mall. That's the conclusion.
Products are extra episodes of Talk from Superheroes.
So check it on out. Head over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
My biggest change is despite all this fun and compliments we have, I do still think it feels a little draggy. I think the reason I have come up with is that once people are used to Robocop, there's kind of like no more energy of like, what's that, a Robocop? There's kind of like no more like shock and awe. So I really think I would just like if his like partner, it can be her, or it can be a new character, was just kind of a little bit more over the top and funny. I think would add so much if it was just some person who was like, oh my God, a robot's my partner. Oh my God, my partner's been turned into a robot. My robot's a partner. Just someone who I can't believe what's happening.
My robot's a partner.
My partner's a robot.
I think is what. But
like just someone who's like kind of incredulous the whole movie. And can kind of just keep this energy up of like, my robot's a partner, my partner's a robot. We're gonna go take down the biggest company in the city. Sure, that's fine. Let's go do that. Someone who's just kind of like keeping the energy up a bit, because as great a job as Peter Weller does, his monotone delivery is like badass but a little bit boring eventually. I think so. It just kind of takes me out. So I just need a little pop of energy. I think would have really helped me in that last quarter at least. That's my biggest change. It's a fun ass, really good movie. Andrew, what would you change, the man who loves Robocop?
I love Robocop. I get what you're saying. I could definitely go for a little bit more of a pop and a little bit of incredulity from like, oh, you're a robot, could add to that as well.
Yeah, like one guy gets covered in toxic waste, but no one says anything about that. And I would love someone just being like, toxic waste?
I mean, the other dude goes like, don't touch me, man.
I mean, that was great.
That was pretty good.
Again, the prosthetics at that moment were incredible.
Terrific Toxic Man prosthetics.
Terrific prosthetics. But yeah, just someone reacting to these things for the second half. Because the first half, everyone's reacting.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
sorry.
My big change is that I think that the character of Bob Morton should not die mid-movie.
Big one, yeah.
Because he is I would say the main antagonist that we've spent most of the time with. You know, he's trying to impress his boss, and he's fighting with this other executive. I honestly think that he should not die. I think we can maybe even lose the semi-kind executive and kind of bump up the one that he's bumping heads with as like another partner maybe at the same level as him. And we remove this kind boss and we remove this murder plot. And then at the end of the movie, we have, you know, like Robocop coming to arrest him and Bob being the guy who's like, I programmed you. There's no way I would program you with the ability to kill me. And it makes it less like, I'm the guy who killed Bob. And also I told Bob to put in a thing to protect me for when I kill him. And also now I run the gangs. And it's like, this is all too convoluted and there's a bit too much.
It was a bit too much. And he didn't seem smart enough to do all those things.
No. Yeah, so I think it should be a straight line Bob the entire movie. And we don't need to have this, I've been murdered and usurped and another executive now runs the gangs.
I think that makes total sense. And yeah, I think that would streamline it better. I think he was a more interesting villain. He's more involved and we've got more on the line with him. He was just as ruthless. I have a secret theory that he made Ed kill that guy. I think he got in there. He didn't seem super surprised when that guy was killed. He was like, oh no. I think it was very subtle, but I think he might have arranged it.
Interesting.
That's my conspiracy theory about Robocop. So yeah, I think he's a way better villain. I think that would make the movie much better.
Yeah. Sweet.
More compelling.
Well, we've done it.
We've done it. We've Robocopped.
We've roboted a cop. Thank you very much for listening to our Robocop episode. If you want more Robocop, we're going to have a new episode on Robocop 2 up shortly on our Patreon page. So head over to patreon.com/FromSuperheroes to check out the exclusive Patreon episode on Robocop 2. As well, we're going to be continuing robots all month long. Next week, we're going to be back talking about Alita Battle Angel.
Another person who's a robot.
And yet another robot. So we'll be talking about Alita Battle Angel next week on the podcast. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me on Instagram at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me, you know what? Still on Twitter. Words of Diana.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes.
Everywhere it's From Superheroes. So easy to find.
Easy to find, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.